What's politics? A way to represent the populace? A way to find common ground between opposites? I'd like to think so, I'd like to play the optimist, but I'm not sure it works, and sorry if I state the obvious, but I've got deep problems with trying to be conscious, cause I don't want to sound preachy or seem pompous, but this is a so-called civilized country, and there's people mentally caged and living like monkeys. What's politics? Getting ill by the state in each orifice, something most kids don't even bother with, cause the problem is, who the hell do we vote for, when both major parties would have sent us to those wars, to settle the old scores, of a mad son from a bad dad, trying to drop bombs over Baghdad. So kids don't want to vote, and all they do these days is shoot at planes and Desert Storm computer games, chasing teenage dreams. But did they know there's only been a women's vote since 1918? It wasn't seen as a right through the 1800s, it was more a privilege that these days we squander, that people think there's no hope, so we don't vote, and the noose gets strung round our own throats until we're hung from our own rope. And playing dumb's no fun when you're sprung, and it's no joke. I know because I didn't vote myself, wouldn't support them, I ignored them, told them go to hell, and told myself that even if I talk they won't listen, but that apathy was actually a form of submission. And because I didn't vote, the authority was given to the current government to set the policy in Britain. So who's the more fool? The fool that follows him, or that fool's foolish following his politics?
It's apathy. It's not so much what the parties do, I think it's what political parties can do. And I think voter apathy isn't a party political issue, it's actually a social and political problem. And I think the first word in any of this, in politics, you begin with listening in capital letters.
It's yours. Whose world is this?
The world is yours. The world is yours.
It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. Whose world is this?
I don't know, like, because I don't really know about it. I don't really care about it.
It's like this. I've got more energy than Lucasade. I play more games girls than Engage. Bear girls want to vote, but nah, fuck that shit. I just want to get laid like.
I'm voting for Arnold Schwarzenegger. You've seen the new stadium that they're building for the Olympics. It should have just come out as like London's taxpayers, because we're poor as it is here, because they're taking off money off of us as it is. And it's people from countryside that's going to come down and get the best seats, and it'll be up to 100 get seats. And the congestion charges as well, they find illegal ways to scam money from you, and that's just government for you.
I don't really care, like, it's their business, like. The money in my pocket and they're taking it back out, you get me?
Both, right now, River Division, that's both. This is where I'm from, this is my hometown, get me? If I voted, it wouldn't make sense. I'll just be guessing, I don't understand nothing. I know votes make a difference, like one vote can make a difference to someone that wins or whatever, what party, but I don't really understand the politics side of things, innit? I just do music.
I think it's a two-way thing. I mean, yes, mainstream politics has become really uninteresting, but to use that as an excuse for complete and utter apathy, election after election, it's just a cop-out.
Politicians do go out. I mean, I know I would personally go out knocking on doors. I would send out 20,000 letters inviting people to come to consultation events, and people don't necessarily, they've got better things to do. They want to play with their DVDs or, go and see a film or whatever it might be.
When you think of it now, you think, oh, a bunch of sweaty old men in white suits going into London to talk about like the NHS, but it should be sort of more like, there's like maybe meetings, say, and then young people could go along and learn about what the government is actually doing to artists.
No distinction between parties. Like the Labour Party or the Conservative Party, there's this kind of image about them which makes them kind of detached. There is even the policies they do. It's not, apart from perhaps a Liberal Democrat. All this party, they don't really catch or engage the interest of young people. I'm saying they have all media coverage. They don't really need to gain the attention of people. They're already sitting down. They already have the Labour Party already has its press office. Conservative, the same thing. What you see is on TV is what you're gonna. That's as far as you're gonna get close to them. You see what I'm saying?
Into the area.
Yeah.
No, I ain't seen none of that. I see them on the news. That's it.
I think apathy actually serves them, because
they pretend that they want young people to vote, but they won't actually listen to voters and respond to them. For example, the Iraq War is a big example. You know, most of voters are actually against the war, and despite all the manipulation of truth. I mean, that's something, you know, it shows an incredible intuition on behalf of the public that despite all the media manipulation and the manipulation by the government, they were still against the war. And even then, there was not, the government did exactly what it wanted to do. It had decided to do it, so it's not responding to the voters at all. So I suppose the first thing is to really listen. You know, listen to what the public is saying, but they're not interested in doing that.
There's a general consensus that young people have a political apathy. They're not really concerned about politics. They really don't think politics have anything to do with them directly. They see politics as something that's separate from them. You know, middle-aged, old white men from middle-class, upper-class background that are standing in the House of Commons making these bar noises. Very few politicians actually learn or realise how to speak the language of the people. You know, so one main aspect of being put into power is related. This is the reason why it's only at the time of the election do we see the main politicians going around, going to people's communities, shaking hands and kissing babies. You know, this is, you know, if politicians didn't believe in relating, then they would not hire the best PR people, but yet their best PR people are failing in getting them to relate to people.
I think also there's a change in politics. Young people quite often are characterised as being apathetic or not interested in politics. I don't think that's true. I think politicians are as much, if not more, to blame than young people themselves, because they speak in a very boring way. They make politics, it's not accessible. The single biggest thing politicians could do would be to genuinely engage with people between elections when there isn't an election. When a politician goes and knocks on the door and it's 3 weeks before an election, in my mind it's too late then. You know, people, they're like, oh, well, you want the vote, we don't want to talk to you. If you're engaging with people genuinely in that time before, so for example, if you know, at the moment the government's reviewing its policy on youth centres. Well, I've organised events so that young people can come and say what they want a government minister to know, what they would say to a government minister. And if you can show, and it's a big if, but sometimes you can, and I have done it in the past, if you can show that them bothering to interact actually has an effect at the end, then people will come back and do it. The point is, they just don't think it makes any difference, and that's why they don't bother, I think.
I think they are actually very interested in politics. I mean, we had record numbers with only NUS marches in London. It shows they're interested, but on issues that are directly related to them. And we've seen that young people in the future, they know they have to live in this country in 25 years down the line. They're not thinking about the ideology, they're thinking about, I have to live in this country 25 years down the line. Do I want to live in an ever more polluted country, more noise pollution, light pollution here in London? That's what they're thinking about, not ideology. I mean, name a 21-year-old like me that talks about ideology in the pub on Friday night. They talk about, you know, everyday issues.
I think actually people are actively participating. It just doesn't really get covered much by the media, or if it does, it's covered in a very distorted way. Yeah. I mean, there's all the campaigning groups. I mean, if you go to all the NGOs, their memberships are rising rapidly because people don't actually believe that that if they get involved in individual campaigns, that way that they can change things.
Whose world is this? The world is yours. The world is yours. It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. Whose world is this? It's yours. It's mine, it's mine, it's mine. Whose world is this? The world is yours.